Alright, so a little background on me. My name is James Strickland, aka Swim Hack, and my athletic abilities started as early as I can remember. Played soccer, did baseball as a kid for YMCA, Little League, pretty much did the whole Little League thing, just like a lot of you guys do. My real athleticism started to shine in high school. I started high school in '94, graduated in '98, went to A-Leaf Hastings in Houston, Texas, and actually it's A-Leaf, Texas, and that's where I was asked to join the swim team after playing football for a season. I was pretty good at football, but didn't really see a challenge in it. It wasn't hard for me to be really good at it, and swimming was unnatural, and I actually got challenged by the swim team coach, who I guess at the time did see my abilities, and he asked me to race one of the girls on the team who was actually a national level swimmer, and she tore me up that day, and that was the end of it. The bet was basically if I lost, I would join the team. So I joined the team and was most improved freshman that year, and went on to some state titles throughout my high school career. I swam competitively at the national and actually almost made the Olympic team up until 2005. I was married in 2004, so family commitments, and actually had a child on the way in 2006 that made me make a decision between swimming, which doesn't pay at all, and is a very big commitment as far as time. Went into more of a weight training kind of setup, where I basically just wanted to get some muscle and gain some bulk on me, just like a lot of you guys do. And I found football again, and went and actually tried out for a couple of semi-pro teams, including the Carolina Panthers in 2010. And basically at the end of that, they told me that I didn't have enough experience, that I was plenty big, that I was plenty quick, and I had the skill set, but didn't have the game film, and I was too old. So I took that and started really banging on the weights, because at that time, and I'll back up here in a little bit, but to tell you kind of the weights that I was doing. But at that time, I was already at about a 525 raw bench press, and that was touch and go in the gym. So backing up to how I kind of started with heavy weights, as soon as I stopped swimming, and by the way, if you haven't figured that out, Swim Hack is my nickname, and it's basically, it comes from the fact that I was a swimmer and still am a swimmer, and I actually am a computer programmer, and I guess you can actually carry it on into powerlifting, where swimmers don't typically become powerlifters. There's a few, but not very many, and so I guess you can say I kind of am a hack of those two worlds together. So Swim Hack, there you go. But when I stopped swimming officially, my bench and my weight actually was 180 pounds, and that was basically soaking wet, and my bench was 300 touch and go. It took me about a year or so after hitting the gym to get up to about the 400, 405 mark. In 2008 or so, I was around the 500 mark, so it took me a couple years to get there, but that's about the time that I really realized that my bench press was something special, and really started to actually work out harder to make it better. About that time, I met a trainer, a couple of guys that were in powerlifting, and decided that I was going to kind of push the limits and see how far I could really take my bench press. Now, mind you, being a swimmer, there was no need for squats and deadlifts, and I didn't even know what powerlifting was. So my squat and deadlift weren't even existent. I didn't even do them, didn't even know what they were, didn't care what they were. Upper body with swimming was the reason my bench press was kind of an anomaly. Basically, when I broke 500, my goal was obviously to go as high as I could possibly go. When I went to 550 or so, I started really contemplating doing a meet. I did do a 605, unofficial obviously, in the gym, and that was touch and go, heavily spotted, you know, the normal gym lifts, the ego lifts, and that was December 2012. Short thereafter, I was actually asked to join a powerlifting team, Texas Strength, and it was basically a group of guys that were pretty strong out here in the Katy area where I live, and we started kind of training for the 3 lift totals. My bench at that point, we started pausing things obviously with training, and my bench went down a little bit. Pausing does make a big difference if you're not used to training. So basically took a 605 touch and go bench and produced in my first meet, December of 2014, an official Texas state record, which was 474. I was very humbled by that number, considering I know that I had handled more weight in the gym. That just told me what I needed to do to go back and train. I knew there were some records in a particular division that I was going for, and I was doing this with the American Powerlifting Federation. I wanted to go after Wayne Van Noordstrand's 585 bench, and thought I could definitely get that. So I went back and trained from January until the next June. This would have been 2015, and went up to Grand Rapids, Michigan for the APF Raw Nationals, and did a Friday night bench only meet, and put up in that particular federation a world record of 551, which is a PR for me, and definitely official. The next morning I got up and did the full meet, and did in the meet I did a 556 bench, so I bettered my PR in one day, back-to-back meets, 5 pounds. I wouldn't definitely not want to recommend that, but you live, you learn. Went back to the drawing board, and literally a couple months later did 578. Closer to the end of that year did a 584, and basically was chasing 600 pretty much from the time I got into powerlifting, but really started chasing it when I started getting close at a 584. In November of 2015, all the way until I finally broke it, which was the end of 2016 in November. So long story short, it took me just over just about 2 years to add 160 pounds to my bench press, and that's not really saying that it wasn't involving training, but I definitely think that I am blessed with some great genetics and background with swimming to be able to do that. But I think most of my success comes from is the mental drive, the mental tenacity, and you hear this all the time, but it really is not something that you can teach. It's just something that's there. I think you're either born with it or you're not. You can hone in on it if you have it. If you don't have it, it's really hard to try to get it. But the people who have it are a different breed, and that's one thing that I think you can understand if you've got that or not. And if you waste it, that's your fault. But that's the secret sauce to a lot of this. I mean, obviously genetics play a huge role, but if you don't know how to hone in on your mental tenacity, it's not going to be there. So a lot of people ask me, where does this bench come from? Basically, I added what's almost unheard of in a couple of years of bench, especially at the elite level, and going from even after I'd broken the 600 mark to going 633 in the next month, and then 661 less than 6 months later. I'm sorry, 8 months later. Even at that level, most people are struggling to add 50 to 100 pounds in their lifetime of a bench. And you've got a guy like myself coming in and doing it in just a few months and a few years. And I do definitely recognize that there's something special there. The good thing about that is I see no end in sight. And I don't say that lightly, and I don't say that with an ego at all. I like to think that I'm one of the smarter lifters out there, and I don't say that because I think I'm smarter than anyone else. I just think that my approach to lifting is smart for myself, and I don't go and ego lift for the sake of it. I'm actually doing things the right way. I've got the right coaches on board. I've got the right teammates. I've got the right equipment, everything that I need to succeed. And if I don't, I find it. And I'm at a level now to where if I don't have it, I won't do it. So with all that said, it's a recipe for success. And the only thing that I have to worry about is staying smart and not getting injuries, and making sure that whatever I can control in life is controlled to the best of my ability. And at this point, everything seems very on par to go very much into the 700s very soon. And so I want you guys to stay tuned for that. I know this is going to be kind of the first part of a long series, Road to 700, and I am very proud and very very humbled to be a part of it. I definitely want to thank everybody who has backed me to this point, especially the ones who didn't really know what I was about until I had already put up some big numbers, and even the ones who were there from the very beginning. Some of my training partners have known me for 9+ years, well before I was even in the 400 club. Just very supportive in general, and my word of advice to anybody out there that's looking to get into something, powerlifting or any type of strength training or athletic ability that's going to take you to the max, is find a support system, and you'll definitely be more prone to succeed. So that's kind of the story about myself. You can find me on Instagram. My Instagram is SwimHack, just like my nickname. You can find me on YouTube, and that's SwimHack as well. You can also find me on social media like Facebook, and you can find me under SwimHack, or just search for my name, James Strickland Powerlifter.